Oh shit!
Lie, dude.
Oh. It doesn't sound like as loud as usual. I feel like I gotta be right here.
And we got to keep it close. But
Dude, I gotta fucking eat it. I have to eat it.
suck it.
What?
What?
No.
I can make it louder. Do you want it louder? Is that loud?
Just a little bit lower.
How's that?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Fucking.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Uh-oh.
Hourglass.
Oh.
Hey.
Hey.
Let me crack this open. I love the Swedish fish flavor.
Dude, that was like my first autistic feature of my life. Is I got really stuck on the fucking Coca-Cola commercials, and I was just like, I just kept making that fucking sound as good.
Oh yeah,
For real. Like 5 years old, I was just be like,
really?
yes,
Just for the hell of it?
for the hell of it. I've
Sitting
always
around.
made sounds like early as fucking.
I know you make a lot of sounds. It's okay though. I'm okay with that.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes I don't know what you're doing. Hey, you ready to roll?
Yeah.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. Today, we bring back someone that's been on here quite a few times. Well, a few times. Probably more than any other guests, I assume. He was on our very first episode, I think, when I recorded in the garage. And then we've had him a couple times in the studio. You know, the first episode, we told his story. He told his story. And he came back and he talked about his crazy ayahuasca experience. And that was pretty in-depth. It was a heavy time of his life. And that was probably about a year ago or so. And things have shifted. So let's welcome Mr. Jesse Mays, the Muscle Medic. Yeah.
What's up, bro?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You know, Monday. Get the Monday rains. I'm just kidding.
Oh, the Monday ghosts.
The Monday ghosts.
Fuck
Cheers.
them rains.
Boop. Anyways, so Jesse's been on here quite a few times. He is the muscle medic here at HQ, and he does, well, just, you know, some guests don't know who you are.
Right.
We got people that have probably joined just recently. Well, quite a few actually have, and maybe they haven't gone back. So real quick, before we get rolling into it, just tell us a little bit about you, but before, I got to give my disclaimer, like I always do. What this podcast does is tell the journeys and stories of individuals from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, the ins and outs, the in-betweens, and we just go off on different tangents based on different subjects, and nothing is off the table. So that's what we do here. If this is for you, subscribe, all the things. If this is not for you, I don't know what's wrong with you, because it's really cool. So check it out. But Jesse, yeah, tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get rolling.
All right, so I own a company called the Muscle Medic, and I'm essentially a healer. And what I do is I've gone through many different walks of life, and I've sat with many different types of practitioners, many different shamans, yogis, and honestly just tried to extract all the information I can around the world for the best healing modalities and combine them. I've tried to really figure out what the essence of healing is. And I would say that probably now what I do is probably like 1% of the world, which is really cool. Beyond that, I'm just an explorer. I explore the vastness of the world and the cosmos, like
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of psychonaut stuff there.
Yeah.
Been on some journeys. And I I don't know, dude. I'm just a fucking enthusiast of figuring this life thing out.
Yeah, you are. You are. Jesse and I have had quite the journey. You know, we go back to the early days of Relentless Pursuit when it was just apparel. And Jesse was traveling around to events with me all the time and whatnot. We're not doing that at the moment in this season. But, man, we've done pagan rituals together. We've bare knuckle boxed each other. We've had falling outs and haven't even spoken for quite some time.
Yep.
And we've circled back around, and here we are thriving within this building and doing our thing. It's been awesome watching your journey. You know, I mean, you've grown a lot. You've definitely, what can I say, found a lot more peace.
Dude, I can't even watch that first fucking episode of me. It's fucking struck because it's funny because we both grew a lot and we're just watching you and watching me and just like how just like, we really did like find each other as bros, just like we were so pent up with life.
Yeah.
There's so much shit going on then.
And we were like, we just like pagan shit and fucking cool music and I don't even know. We just liked a lot of the same shit. And
yeah.
It clicked.
Yeah, I can't even remember our first few conversations when you, because I believe I met you when you came to get work done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even remember what the fuck we talked about. I just know that like, it was just like, hey, we're bros.
Yeah, it was easy,
yeah.
You know. So it's been a cool journey, man. I don't know, when I look at you and I've seen you grow. Right, obviously you were in the space you were. It's like a totally different person thinking about it.
Bro, I was in a fucking bad place.
Yeah,
I was in a fucking like, and that's what's wild is like I never really realized it just because I have always kept trucking, and that's kind of what I tell myself in my head a lot of times is just keep trucking no matter what, even in like the most insane of places that I've been in. But like, yeah, looking back and seeing who I was on some of those episodes and just in general, just some of my life 4, 5, 3 years ago, it's insanely different just because I feel like I can breathe in my own skin. I also feel like a lot of my recent findings and developments of my own mind and brain have explained a lot of things.
Such as?
Well, one of the things that's like controversial for a lot of things, and our good friend Aya really started enlightening me, and I think I had a lot of judgment to it, especially at first, but autism, and it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for me because a lot of yogis would be claimed under the autism stuff. And the first thing that everyone does is like, you know, you mention autism and they're like, yeah, it's a spectrum. Like everyone's a little, and like, yeah, it's just the same as you fucking say mitochondria and people just have to like shit out of their mouth. Like, yeah, the powerhouse of the cell. And it's like, okay.
You know that?
Yeah. And well, it's just like, it's so ingrained in society that I think people really, kind of have this idea of it, but they don't truly understand it. I don't even fucking understand it. I just know that it makes a lot of sense to understand the mind and the mental capacity and the personality as a spectrum, and understanding that some people really sit on top of their personality. Like I would say, you're a really good person for that, which I wouldn't necessarily, like, you have like neurodivergence and neurotypical, right? And so I would say this is not at all what people within the autism realm or science realm talk about, but this is just how I view it. People who are neurotypical basically kind of keep the same tempo, right? Neurodivergence is having a very wide span of a very big personality. And to the point to where someone at some point could say you have like multiple personality disorder or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But realistically, I'm always me, but I definitely go through a multitude of moods, emotions, waves, different thought processes. I may think something is fucking amazing one day and hate it the next. It's just very shifting. And the key thing that really clicked for me was a lot of people talking about how when you're basically most people who are autistic are really good at mapping out people, really good at understanding people, really good at trying to, I guess you would say, be able to get a grasp on people's personalities and their body language and a lot of their psychology. But for the majority of it, at the same time, you might be super good at that and still not necessarily be able to understand humanity and how it works and why it works.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely something that I deal with. No matter how much I necessarily know about something, or sense about some people or sense about the people in the room, I've definitely always had this sense of not fitting in.
Yeah.
And it's just because, like, well, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know why that's there or where that's there or where that's coming from. But that's essentially like hey, do you know if you're autistic or not? That one right there. The you could know, because I mean, I would say I probably know more psychology than most people. I know more body language and more neurological response than most people out there. And then even then, understanding that and understanding my own body, I still kind of, in several rooms, I just don't feel like I fit in the human skin.
I get that. I hear you. I mean, I've analyzed that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you voiced it to me, and I've seen what you're talking about. I feel like in a different sense with me thinking on what you're saying is I never feel like I necessarily fit in. Like I know I'm different, but I can also fit in like pretty much any room. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to try to. I don't know. It's not like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't go in, I got to fit in with these people. I'm just kind of myself, and it morphs, but I'm also like not putting in the effort to be something that's not myself. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it does. And that's exactly where I feel like I came from, is I have stripped so much away from people pleasing, because that's the biggest issue that I've had with it. I don't think I'd have an issue with it. I don't think some people have nearly as much of an issue. Some people have terrible issues with this stuff, and I'm not necessarily claiming I am autistic. I'm just saying that within some of those findings and understanding the spectrums and scales as best as I could, hearing other people talk about it that are, or claim to be, or have been diagnosed, whatever, it's definitely helped me understand. And people pleasing is like the worst aspect, by far the thing that has crippled me in my life. And the further that I've gone being my authentic self, and the further that I've gone into the realm of truly not giving a flying fuck about what anyone thinks, or says, it has made me much more comfortable. And I just didn't come from that, because I came from a family that I had to I had to mold myself around them. I had to mold myself to make sure the family was happy, because my mom was always a basket case and frantic and on drugs half the time, and my dad was always working and dealing with my mom and never had a lot of time. Gave me all the time he had, though. Great dad. But the general thing that created was a people-pleasing person.
I see that. Yeah. I mean, I've adopted that trait somewhat from my mother, because she's always been somewhat of a people pleaser, and I've seen it like kind of drag her down throughout life, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, don't worry about, like, if they're making you miserable, don't put the energy into it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've cut that out of my life quite a bit, though, the whole people pleasing thing, you know. But I just get pissed. I just react a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Harsher than like you do, man. You're just like, oh, it's all good. Like, you're really diplomatic about shit. I'm just like, fuck that motherfucker. Yeah. You know, put him in a fire.
Dude, it's very rare, because I have that too, but fuck, I like it. So you know Chad, right? Big Chad. Yeah, dude. Me and him are very much the same way, because we're extremely diplomatic about things. We see things from how to reconcile and reason things. Mostly because I think I guess from where I was, also being in the Marine Corps, seeing what I'm capable of, knowing what I'm capable of, I've always kind of been also in a sense of the same people pleasing. I haven't wanted to hurt anyone. Yeah. So that's I think, having an extreme amount of rage as a young kid, I immediately recognized that I could hurt somebody. Yeah. And I was the big fat kid who got bullied, because I wouldn't hurt anyone, because I didn't want to cause any harm. And even today, you know, I think that I'm probably not worried about that because I know my heart.
Yeah.
But at the same time, me and Chad often talk about, like, God help the person that actually pisses us off.
Yeah.
Because,
Right.
like, I don't get pissed about anything.
Yeah.
And when I actually do get mad, it's for a good reason, and you're probably going to get fucked up.
Yeah. I feel you there. And I'd say I'm the same way, but like I have to, I mean, I learned this term like last year, like clear my throat.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just vent it out so that way I don't react in like some rash way and cause harm and get fucking thrown in jail or whatever the case is, right? Like, you know, I haven't been in jail yet, right? So it's like I'm not just flying off the handle and smacking people or whatever, but I'm also, I don't know, I just got to fucking get it out, and I got to talk to somebody, and I just got to like level out, and then I become a lot more reasonable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I just know people in my life that are just straight up, just fly off the handle immediately. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I think stoicism has just been a big thing for me. Not non-reactivity, you know,
Yeah.
just being fucking as chill as I possibly can be in most situations. But that in itself, I actually have a lot of fun now. I can't say that I always did, but I have not been very disciplined in my life. I have recently been going on a very harsh journey of physicality or discipline within the physical essence of things. Going on a bodybuilding journey right now. Doing cardio every morning, eating my meals, which are actually awesome, by the way. I'm surprised, honestly, how well I'm responding to that.
Hell yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
I did the same thing.
It's coming up, man. Fucking the thing that I am very disciplined about, though, is my mind. You know?
Yeah.
And that has proven amazing because I don't think anybody else could have handled the ayahuasca experience like I did. And I find it a lot of fun. Me and my friend Aya were talking about this the other day about like kind of autism and using it for different purposes, right? Because some people do use the card. I don't think I ever could. I did for one reason, and that was just because someone was giving me hell about like me trying to fill out some paperwork, and I could not figure it out. And I was like, "Listen, dude, I'm just like a little bit autistic. Can you please help?" And it's so funny how they just like, oh, okay. And I was like, "Fuck, man! Like you couldn't just fucking help me."
Yeah.
So, and then they helped me. It was great. So, I mean, it works sometimes, I guess. But like, I mean, I'm not trying to use the card. Going back to what I was saying is that I think that regardless of what it is, it doesn't matter to me because my mind is like the warrior way, right?
Yeah.
So I know I'm highly sensitive. I know that I have things that trigger the shit out of my body. Like sometimes, like you'll see me and you do actually the same thing. We just like might be sitting somewhere and we go, like, you know, we have like breathing stuff that we do, and that is all your body already knowing kind of like a pattern to get into to like, oh shit, like your body's noticing anxiety triggers or other people's energy, however you want to look at it. Your body's reacting in a certain way. And so you have built this patternistic system to combat that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love. That's what I'm all about. So I don't like to think anything that comes my way or triggers me or fucks my mind up could potentially be a detriment, but it's a challenge. Yeah. And it's something to overcome and make my nervous system adapt to. So I feel like where I've found solace and peace that we're talking about here in the whole spectrum of things is adaptivity and making my nervous system extremely adaptable, finding tools all over the world. That's the coolest shit to me. Yeah. Just because it's not necessarily the strongest or the most intelligent that survives. It's the most adaptive. And if you can adapt to any situation, then boom.
Then you're good. Then you're golden. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I love that. That's very interesting, Jesse. I don't know. I mean, everything that you're saying, I observe. Right. I wonder how you view me sometimes because I'm like pretty like spastic and all over the place, but I'm also pretty. I'd say I'm disciplined in the physical realm of things.
Probably don't want to know how much I probably know about you.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, hell, I'm pretty open about it at least. One thing I've noticed too, though, you know, you talk about like how you've changed, right? And it's for the better and you're finding peace. And the more, it's weird because the more people I cut out of my life, the more I get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like people you don't resonate with or that are dead weight in your life. Like it could even make your life more stressful in essence, but at the same time, you're more at peace because that weight's off your shoulders.
Right.
Because you realize like you're trying to become the lighthouse in a way. Mm-hmm. You know? Like I feel like I'm still I feel like I'm still a tugboat, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still dragging some people and slowly just cutting that weight off because I want to be the lighthouse, just standing there firm. But it's just who we are to want to bring people with us, right? And but I'm just speeding up a little bit more and I'm going to become the lighthouse. And that's one thing I've noticed too, man. It's just like, God, the fucking relief of just cutting people out.
Yeah.
But then you're trying to like see something in them. You know, you see potential in everybody, so you don't want to do that. But sometimes you just got to cut that cord hard, man. You know? So that's been a big lesson for me.
Yeah.
Especially the past couple of years.
Yeah, and that's, I think where I find some release is actually kind of opposing a little bit of that analogy, because I like that analogy for a while, but I realize in life there's no destination. Like literally, it's just an ever-ending cyclical Ouroboros. It's forever, eternally revolving, right?
Yep.
So even if you do get to the lighthouse and you do become the lighthouse, chances of you going back in the ocean and swimming some fucking waves are high, right?
Yeah, getting back in the boat and fucking dragging some more people up.
Yeah, I feel like I combine the analogies in a way. It's just like I want to try to have like the brightest light on my fucking boat that I can, and the most sturdy, thick vessel that can't go down, that's got like lots of adaptive parameters that just like, fuck it, dude, I'm a storm racer, chaser, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like I'm just like, I mean, I feel like I've gotten to that point, and I feel like you share this same semblance, is that regardless of how bad it gets, it's almost just like, it's like, oh no, you know what? Fuck it. Yep. like I'm ready, dude. Fuck it. Let's go. And I feel like as the challenge climbs for me, me and you have different ways of dealing with it. And that's the funny part, is that we both get to the same place of, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Yeah. But as you climb, you just get mad. Like, so as things build up on top of you, you're just like, motherfucker. And you just get mad. And you're just like, dude, and then finally, like, it'll click, and you'll just bullet storm through it, and you'll kill it, and it won't matter. And for me, I just get, like, overwhelmed, and like, I get some anxiety, and I kind of become a little bitch for a minute. And I'm just like, God, why is this fucking happening? Please stop. And then I just, it's weird. It cuts out, you know? Like, you know, a lot of times when I train jiu-jitsu or ever train fighting, there'd always be this moment that I would kind of have some fear of whatever is going down in my mind. But the moment that I actually got hit is the moment that it was like, we're in it, let's go. Yeah. And it's like all of it just goes away. Yeah. And it's weird because it's like it has to be a certain level to actually make me, it's like this fear is this illusion that keeps me down here, and it's this illusion that keeps me trying to play mortal, I guess. Yeah. And then it takes this certain level of challenge for me to actually get excited about it. Yeah. That makes sense. And it's funny what you said about me getting mad. Like, I mean, it was just like what we were talking about the other day. I'm like, one of my main motivators is the fucking chips on my shoulder, man. It, like, for some reason that like catapults me to another level. I don't know why. I guess it's a good thing. I mean, I'm not using it in some stupid way. I'm using it for productivity, but also like I do hold on to those things a bit, and eventually I just want to let them go. Right. But I'm using it for, I don't know, energy right now. It's fuel. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Maybe it'll shift. I mean, we all go through chapters and seasons, right? I think I'm just in a fucking, it's like I said, I want to grow my hair out, but the hair's just long hair's just a little bit too chill for me right now. Like, I'm in a mohawk season. Yeah. So I got to just be like, I got to keep the mohawk until I can slow down just a little bit. I mean, I'm always going to keep raising the bar and taking things to another level, but I'm also in a time right now where there's so much pressure that I got to just like fucking mohawk it. Yeah. Flame hawk. Yeah. So yeah, we're on fire, baby. Yeah, dude.
Trying to be.
Dude, I mean, I think it's hilarious what you go through. Like, no, not saying like
Thanks.
yeah, no, just the way you react is fucking. It's usually funny because it's like you are your own comedic relief sometimes because the way you like express it and clear your throat. Like when we're talking and stuff, I do think it's fucking. I used to try to imitate it, but now sometimes I just sit back and let you go, and I'm just like, what's this motherfucker gonna say?
You do. You just got to let me do that.
Yeah, well, the more you say, the more I'm quiet, the funnier it gets because he just starts spouting off some crazy shit, and I'm like, whoa, dude. But it's entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my wife, she just learned to she just lets me just have my moment because she knows she's like, Joe, stop. Like, I'm going to be like, it's just going to be more.
What does that sound?
But it's just like, I don't pin it up, just let it out, and then boom.
Yeah.
Just got to have that,
Yeah.
and I'm good to go. And then I don't just lash out and do something stupid. So, yeah, man. And you were saying, so what's the purpose of you doing the bodybuilding show? Is that for, like, you to, I guess, attain that more physical control?
Yeah, man, there's been such a fucking journey with my mind. I just don't feel like it's fair for my body because I don't feel like my body reflects it. And it's getting there. Like there's changes and things happening, which is nice. But I feel like most of my life has been a very mentally brutal journey. And it's finally kind of like the mind is coming out of the storm. The body's never been really an issue, especially with lifting until about 4 years ago, because I feel like I really peaked out really hard, really fast in the Marine Corps. And then after that, I went through a lot of body trauma, and it didn't seem to stop me for a while until 2018, 19 was when I really destroyed my back. It's stupid.
Well, I was going to be a smart ass, but I'm just keeping myself.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, hourglass.
You gotta like swirl it like a wine glass.
Yeah. Get all the sand. See, it's got get all the sand in there to fall.
Okay.
So back was destroyed.
Yeah, man. My back was super fucked up. Realistically, just kept destroying it on deadlifts, and finally, like, it was like the final straw, and I was like crippled. I can't exactly remember where I was going with this, but yeah, long story short, what we were on was I had gone through a lot of mental issues and for most of my life, and part of that manifested into bodily issues. And now that I feel like I've remedied my mind, my body is really damn healthy now, and I seemingly have no problems other than just like really heavy deadlifts. So I keep everything kind of moderate, just because I have a lot of goals to focus on in life, and I just don't want any more hiccups. But bodybuilding is, for me now, the kind of final push physically to see what all of everything that I've built up inside really looks like on the outside.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm excited to see you perform. Maybe I'll get up there one of these days.
Yeah, dude.
I've had quite a few people say, oh, you should do it, but I'm like, man, that's like the only, like, training's the only thing I have for myself right now.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of beautiful things,
Mm-hmm.
I love running my business. I love doing all the ins and outs. I love the stress of wearing a lot of hats.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it, right? Because eventually I'm not going to have to. And I love being a father, and that's all stuff for me, essentially, right? But like when it comes to just that one-on-one interaction with myself, like training is just like that one little outlet that I don't even get to spend a whole lot of time doing anyways, So it's just like I don't want it to become a thing I have to do as much as I just like love doing it right now. So I think in a different season, I'll probably pursue something like that, because why the hell not?
Yeah.
And I always appreciated the discipline it takes to pursue that goal. And I did one before, back when I was a little bit younger. But it'd be cool to do it, so like this time, because almost a decade later, just to give it a shot. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that I have knocked it so much in the past, and I also was the furthest away from it at that point. And it was every single thing that I could say about bodybuilding, honestly, had everything to do with my lack of discipline. Yeah. So
self-projection.
Exactly.
We see a lot of that, not from you, but just from people in general, right?
Yeah.
They typically hate on things that they wish they could pursue or wish they had the discipline to pursue, or, you'll hate on somebody for being a certain way. Maybe you just wish you were that way in some instance, right? So I've seen that a lot lately as well.
Judgment doesn't really help anything.
It doesn't.
No.
It just makes things worse.
Yeah.
And it makes it worse for you yourself as well.
Extremely worse. And that's really like the process that I feel like I've gone through the most is getting away from judgment, especially. I think probably judgment has been the biggest thing actually for me to get away from. And I don't know that I have always portrayed so much judgment outwardly, but I've definitely had a lot of inward judgment towards myself and just towards other things. And I might not vocalize them, but in a totally inward battle that is very silent to the outside, I think I have battled a lot with trying to overcome my own mind and judgments on certain particular things that, I mean, all it's done is limited me in the pursuit of happiness and the pursuit of fitness and the pursuit of chasing my goals and doing things, and also in my pursuit of connection and relationships.
Yeah.
It absolutely helps nothing to have any judgment. And when I say judgment, I mean like anything of the way that I think it should be.
Yeah.
And I've just gotten away from really thinking like whatever I think it should be. Like I got a few things like my business, how I think it should be, because it's my fucking thing. It's my show. But with life and my friends and everything, I've really been learning to take things in stride and take people how they are.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot more of a beautiful relationship when you let that happen.
Oh, without a doubt. And you realize that like all those things that they do differently from you aren't that big of a deal. Like the way I look at things is like, I think there are ways that things should be, but all within my life. When it comes to spirituality, that's a big topic right now in my life. People tend to have issues with paganism. Let's just say that, right? Which is a fact. And that's fine. I don't really care. But then when it comes at you, when it's like an attack on that, when it's just like, hey, you know what's right for you.
Yeah.
That's how it should be for you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But how things should be for you shouldn't be for me. They don't have to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I don't know. Like that's where I'm at. Like I've got a way I view things. Like this is what speaks to me. It could be religion. It could be whatever. I think things should be this way. But the thing is, like, I can control myself. So if I can focus on that, like, I'm not worried about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You want to segue into that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Spirituality?
Yeah. Let's
religion,
talk about
paganism?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I figured.
Yeah.
I figured.
Let's talk about it.
Because me and you do have differing beliefs, but at the same time, they're the same. Because like a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't get that. And I think it's I think me and you probably have some of the best voices out there for talking about what we believe in. See, belief is the problem for me. That's the biggest. Belief is such a poison because you're just like, I believe in something that you're putting all this stake on stuff that you really have no idea about.
Yeah.
And then there's another group of people that the people who believe, right, can't fathom that there are things that you can know outside of the mind.
Yeah.
Because that's, and so let me step back on the belief and explain exactly what I mean. There's a mental process and there's things that the mind or the ego, right? The ego being the mind, the ego being like literally your brain, because there's the brain and then there's the emotions, which a lot of people think in psychology is just housed in the emotions. I, as a bodywork practitioner, can absolutely, like, totally, I don't know if I'd say dismiss, but I'll definitely contest.
Yeah.
Because it's just not what I see. It's not what I see in my work. And the emotional centers, the body is very intelligent too. You're not just a brain. People are going around thinking that they're just a brain. And this ego, the brain, your thoughts, the way that your brain processes is only processing so much information, right? So you got your eyes, you got your ears, you got your nose, you got your touch senses, you got your taste, and generally speaking, these 5 senses are super limited, and this is what your mind is processing everything with.
Yeah.
And I think for me and you, we realize that there are there's a huge fucking world outside of those 5 senses.
Yeah.
And there's things that people can't fathom. And me and you know that regardless of what our mind can process, there are just simply things outside of processing range.
Yes.
For the human. But when you step over into the spiritual, when you step over into the emotional, when you step over into the being open to energetic exchanges,
yes,
these things are where we can say we know. Not we know by the mind, but we have had experiences that didn't make any damn sense to the mind.
Yeah.
Like very magical things. And I think that the ego basing things off of belief rather than experience is a big problem.
Yeah. See, I kind of tie the two together, because that's the thing I get out with people. It's like, you need to believe this. This is, what you believe in is wrong, right? Or whatever. But it's just like, how can you understand my experience in life or anything I've seen, anything I've experienced? How could you have any understanding of that and know my heart and my soul? How could you literally tell me that just because somebody else told you that's correct? I just think it comes back to ego, right? And I think people want to be so right about that because the thought of the afterlife, the thought of like when your physical body dies is so scary that it's nice to have a clear-cut definition of the options, right?
Yeah.
And people have to often ask me, well, if you don't believe in like heaven and hell, then what do you believe in? I'm like, guess what? I don't know what's next. That's the beauty in it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of life. That's the thing. If you think about fate and all these different things, like most people could sit there and say, unless they've just like really just stayed in one spot, I can tell you now, I did not expect my life 10 years ago to be where I'm at today in any way. Right. And, but that's the thing. Like, you can't really have expectations all life. Yeah, you can keep a vision and work towards something, but you always got to pivot. But like when it comes to spirituality, it's so big and it's so vast. And to think that you can't understand just basic concepts of life, but then you understand what that is on a whole nother level and you're just so right about it, that to me is mind-blowing because it's so much bigger than we can all fathom. And circling back to belief, like I believe in something. Why? Because that connects me with what's after, right? In a sense. And it gives me purpose. I believe in the lessons. I believe in, the gods and the lessons that they teach. And to me, they're a material form of what God is. But God is just so massive and vast. God is everything.
Yeah.
But that's what connects me to that. And however anybody connects to that, great.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean we're all going to connect to that the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. But people got to be matter of fact about that.
Yeah.
But I think that stems down to fear.
Yeah. Like, and in I think there's a problem with the word belief in general of semantics, right? Because there's a few ways that we're using it here that people may not hear, right? So like I could say I believe in myself, and that doesn't necessarily mean that like I have this mental thought projection of what I am and that I believe I'm real. It means that like I have faith in myself, right?
Yes.
And so I think that there's a difference between people saying the word belief and saying I have faith in, right? As in I trust. I trust this direction. I trust this way versus I put stake in something that my mind can wrap around and that I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of people, that's how I hear people using, belief. Like, I believe in God, even though they've never necessarily had a godly experience. They're saying this, I believe, in a sense of out of maybe fear for their culture, maybe fear for how they've been raised. I believe because, what's the first thing you hear when you go to church? Like, believe in Jesus or you're going to go to hell, right?
Yeah.
At least that was my experience as a kid. And, it's funny coming full circle with that. Just go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, Lydia's Christian, right? And so, like, on Easter Sunday, I went to church with her. She's come to ritual weekends and stuff. Like, out of respect, I'll go to some things with her. Yeah, I'm not going to go every week because I just don't feel at home there, and it doesn't really make sense. But I'm going to go with her for certain things because she shows that same respect to me, and I think that's a beautiful part of our relationship. And I think my daughter is going to benefit from that a lot. It's not going to be so closed. But, I'm sitting there and he's like, if you're not living for Jesus, like, you're living selfishly. I'm like, man, like, I'm a pretty selfless person, I'd say, but dude, you don't know that I'm sitting here, and it's like, it's not geared towards me specifically. Right. But that's the belief that if you're not living like this, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
And what I see that do is tear people apart. Mm-hmm. And I wrote about this a while back. Remember when I wrote about just circling back to honor? We have honorable people, we have dishonorable people. And people look at religion, they're like, well, it gives a good playbook for like morals and how to live a life. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure before that, like, people still understood not to like lie, cheat, and steal and do like evil shit. Like, we're all inherently ingrained with these understandings. And people have been doing it for thousands of years prior to whatever belief system, right? Like, being good people. Just evil seeps its way in one way or the other. We're not going to get to that. But there's no playbook on it. It's part of who we are. I do believe it's part of like something that's ingrained of us since the beginning. But you don't need to believe in a certain thing to be a good person.
Yeah.
Like, I look at a lot of people from all different walks and backgrounds and belief systems, and I'm like, they're great fucking people. They live with honor. We come together on that. But as soon as everybody starts raising their hand, well, I'm this and I'm that, people are like, fuck you. Like, I want nothing to do with you. Screw them. And it's like, man, we got all this division based off something so much bigger than we can even comprehend, when really it just comes down to the basics. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just something that's, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, there's so many things I could say about religion, but I won't get into the semantics of it because, like, I'm not going to give myself a title, right? And that's, where me and you are a little bit different. Like, I can't necessarily say I'm pagan. I can't say I'm Christian because, like, dude, whatever I'm made of, you're made of, and this table's made of, and the grass is made of, and my dog is made of.
Calling me a table?
Yeah, man, you're a fucking table. And you know what? Anyway, I could say some things, but I'm not. At least you're a nice table. You'd be like a really good teak wood.
That's why, I'd say so. Or like a redwood even.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know, a birch.
You're a birch. Not like plywood.
Birch ass bitch.
Sometimes I feel like plywood.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway, yeah, that was a hard transition. I really cannot register with this mental concept of belief in different things, man. It's as many journeys as I've had, and I would say that I stay pretty humble about my journeys, even though, but like my what I've seen, man, is insane, and I've had so much more experience than I remember at one point looking at these people who are going out there, and it was just like, it happened so fast with so many of my experiences that I was looking at these people and looking at these shamans and looking at these people, I was about to say it again, but these individuals who have had this wild, mind-blowing, out-of-body experience maybe that has transitioned them to be a different person.
Yeah.
And I felt like I chased that so hard and so fast and so aggressively. And
you
then,
did there for a little while.
Yeah, and for years. And then, that last ayahuasca experience I talked about, that was the one that I was just like, I just stopped dead in my tracks. And then I looked back for the first time, and I was like looking at everyone out there, even shamans, even yogis. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I went far. Because like now I'm looking back and like there's people who seemingly understand most of the world that can't understand me.
Yeah.
And when you got a shaman like look at you and just be like, dude, where the fuck did you go? You went out there, and that's scary as shit, dude.
Yeah.
And then coming back and being completely unrelatable,
Yeah.
And there's so much that like that experience was the most brutal, painful, mind ripping, soul ripping thing I have ever dealt with in my life. And it's very hard to come to grips with reality some days because of it. But at the same time, it has bred so much more grace and forgiveness for everybody and everything and reality itself, and understanding that, regardless of what people think of these words I'm about to say, like venturing out that far, you have a few choices because there's only one way to stay here, one way to come to grips, one way to be okay, and that's by essentially taking the light of God. And that light in conversation terms would be life force, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding, again, going back to that concept, like whatever I'm made of, you are made of. There's not one thing in existence that isn't made of the same substance. And so it's just like this mindless argument of the mind, of the ego, trying to separate us from that. And it's hierarchical no matter what.
Yeah.
And I don't see any separation whatsoever. Are there things that could be better, and are there things that are being done by certain cultures better than others and worse than others? Yes, absolutely. But again, it's just a lot of us missing the same concept. This isn't defeatist of culture. And that's something I definitely don't believe in. I don't believe in the defeatism that's going on in a lot of the new age shit of cancel culture because we're all one thing. Absolutely. But the culture that, like, you're telling me there's no reason that I'm white and there's no reason that people are black and there's no reason that people are Indian. Like those are beautiful things to be cherished because they are unique and they're awesome. Yeah. And I think that everybody deserves their culture and their gods, however you want to say it, because it's their way of understanding this thing. There is no, being so far out where I've been, there is no full way to understand it. And so faith is always necessary as a human being with limited senses, not being able to process the environment around you, understanding that your mind probably doesn't have your best intention, or your mind doesn't have your best in mind.
Yeah.
Your faith will, though.
Yes.
Because even though, that's me and you a lot of the times, even though I can't see all the things that I'm transposing in business, in my life, in my family, and my friends, I know it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And sometimes, like, if I listen to my mind, it doesn't look okay. It doesn't look okay at all.
Mm-hmm.
So do I go with that? Right? In my opinion, if you want to talk about, like, the light and the dark, devil and God, the mind is the devil.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that's where a lot of these sacred texts across the world, whether you want to talk about Christianity, Hinduism, paganism, whatever it is, a lot of these things are developments of metaphorical basis to understand how to manipulate your mind. The archetypes are within all of us, right?
Yeah.
And so whether you want to say those are archangels, whether you want to say those are pagan deities and gods, Norse, Egyptian, and like whoever's listening to this, I don't want you to think that the things that I'm saying are not in any way demeaning, but there are higher levels of looking at things. And I would say from higher, it doesn't mean hierarchical in the sense of better and more meaningful and more majestic. Inherently, it may have that quality, but it's a bigger overview. It's seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have my culture and my ways, and people outside of that are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's several cultures around the world that are doing the best they can. Okay, cool. Oh, but they have their gods and stuff. And so are mine right or are theirs right? Oh, this is just a way that people can understand God, how they see it.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like the crazier the world gets, right? People, they draw closer and tighter to whatever that belief is.
Right.
Whether it's religion or politics or whatever, right? So you got like shit's happening.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the fucking Democrats. Or the other side's like the Republicans are doing this. So they're just like, there's more. They push away even farther while getting more militant within those groups. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's the end times. We got to like shun these people. We got to do this. And you got all these different belief systems that are so militant towards that. They're like anything that goes wrong, it's because it's not natural to their cause. Mm-hmm. So it just drives people away even further. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of a crazy thing to watch, you know, knowing that is that the more shit that happens in the world, when this is the time to like kind of have that understanding and embrace one another, it just makes people more rebellious against each other. And then it just causes more friction and eventually becomes an explosion.
Right.
Because it's just too much chaos going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I see. I mean, it just,
I think the biggest problem right there is that there's a search outside. And there's a search, like, because there's a window and you're the window, right? And so you have your internal world and your external world, and there's a search in the external world for God. Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense just because he's making you right now. It's the creation. Whether you want to say it's an entity, a being, or anything, I do personally believe it's a very loving and giving thing, because whatever's giving me life is also giving the serial killer life. That's just an immense amount of uncomprehendable compassion and love and forgiveness. And you know, we don't necessarily have to agree with that, and I don't think that we're meant to. I don't think that we should, but at the same time, I do think that the life force that is giving all of us life force is a self-sacrificing thing that is allowing us to play out however we want. It's giving us the domain to play in, to actually exist in. But I've always kind of really pushed the envelope on getting people to really search inside for God. Yeah. Because that was my first click in meditation, was like, where is it? Where is that thing? Where's that thing like inside of me? Yeah. That's giving life right now. Like I know that I'm being animated. I can feel it. I can feel that there's me, right? My personality, but then I can also feel that there's this animation that allows me to wake up daily. Yeah. Right. And part of I would say the shamanic way of doing things is that, like, you really do die every night and you're reborn every morning. And if you treat life as such, and the more present you get, the closer you get to that animating source. And that's, I think, searching outside of yourself for that animating source, for the thing that's going to like come and save you. You know, it's like it's coming from it inside, and the inside is projecting the outside. Yeah. And the outside is referring to the inside. And it's a constant loop cycle of how this thing works. Yeah. So, you know, that's where I think a lot of, you know, shamanic and I guess prophetic understandings of things is understanding that everything relates to each other no matter what. And as you see things play out on the outside, it's not like oh, that's what that means for the world just because I heard that or I know that or that's what the ancient teachings say. No, it's like you spend so much time seeing things on the outside and relating to what they mean on the inside, and then you watch how you transpose that omen, if you will, right, that you saw on the outside, that you pondered upon, and you came to a meaning on the inside. Mm-hmm. And then the clearer you get in the less that you project, and the more you just observe and you see how things correlate. You see how, for you personally, maybe if an owl comes out of nowhere, or, you know, a certain card comes out of a stack of playing cards, or tarot, or whatever anybody wants to use, or flipping open to a random page in the Bible. Rune drawings. Yeah. These, you know, and certain people in Christianity would call these casting lots, which for me, I do personally think that mine all come to me. I think my messages are all latent. I think they all come out. I don't think there's any reason for me to reach out and try to grab them, because I think everything I need to know is going to come. Yeah. And it's going to show up however I need. That's just me personally. But that's the biggest thing, is that I think that people have this massive separation between, what's going on the outside, what's going on the inside, and they don't realize it's the same.
Yeah.
It's a very connected, dynamic play between the life force that's inherently inside of you and the life force that's being projected outside of you. It's the same.
Hell yeah. All right, Jesse. As we enter into the final segment, some deep stuff there.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just, it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, none of us really know anything.
Oh.
At the end of the day, it's just like
we know what we know.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, that's really the thing that I've learned. As much as I've had my mind absolutely crushed, and I think that's the final thing that I'll point out is like the crushing wasn't actually a crushing of it like I mean, that ayahuasca experience was an experience for eons, dude. Like, it was just I can't describe to you how long I spent there. And the thing is that, yeah, I went through eternal torment, but it was my own eternal torment.
Yeah.
And it was, and when I say that, I mean, it was definitely like out there in the realms and the cosmos, but it was also within me, and the understandings of all my judgments, all my lack of acceptance, all that shit. And the crushing was the eternal love of the divine source that is giving me life. That was the crushing. Because out of everything that I've ever experienced and gone through, and also out of every possible plausible emotion that I've ever felt inside that nobody has ever heard about or understood or known of, this divine source that knows me better than anything else, which is, in all senses, all of our higher selves, could love me through it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally accept me through it. Totally accept me just as I am, and just completely like that. And I stayed in that place for so long that I basically had to accept that. And I also, meaning I had to accept myself. And that's something unfathomable for a lot of people, because, like, the quote unquote, I am a sinner. I think that's going down a slippery slope for a lot of people. I think it's understood, and it needs to be understood, that you're a human being and you can't do everything right because you're a human being. You literally have limited senses. You can't tell everything, and some things are overwhelming. You only have a certain ability to handle your system and the systems of other people out there. So it doesn't really make any sense to think you can be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectionism is probably like the thing that I realize is just impossible. It's not a thing. It's not real, because there's the perfectionism of the mind, and then there's what happens, which is perfect.
Yeah.
And I do think that I just realized in that moment that I don't know jack shit about what's going on, and that's okay. I'm just really happy that I'm here, and I'm really happy that I got awesome fucking friends and animals and fucking family, and I have the ability to keep going and keep creating from an open heart and spread as much joy, love, awesome, fun, crazy, cool, wacky, stupid, wild shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Come as you are, as you are, as I want you. Was that song like Collective Soul or something?
I know it.
You know it? Okay, so it's a song. Okay.
I can't remember who sung it. I don't know.
God. That's what God would say.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
Yeah. Anyways.
Let's don't get on that fucking Kid Rock.
Dude, let's not talk about Kid Rock. But speaking of the ayahuasca, how do you feel about ayahuasca? Because I had my experience,
dude,
and I think it's some dark shit.
Dude, I have a crazy story for you, actually.
Okay.
All right. Actually, I think I already told you. I told you a little bit. Okay. So I'm not going to name names, but the helper, like, if anybody tuned into that episode where I was talking about, like, me going out and getting the helper and just being like, hey, I need to talk to someone. She's like, totally. Okay, sure. Yeah. What's up? And I'm like, well, I think you guys are all like super occultic, and you're just like trying to steal my soul, and you're just fearing people here down on your luck and like trying to entrap them into eternal chaos forever.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no, we love you. that helper actually, it was nuts, dude. It was nuts that, like, I finally, like, reached out to her and kind of said that I felt a little abandoned. She was super open and wanted to talk and listen, and we talked for like 2 hours and actually had great talks. And it was really awesome to hear that she was also feeling a little weird about it, right? And not necessarily about the medicine, but the biggest takeaway that I've understood is that, or should I say, the biggest correlation that I'm not waving on is that ayahuasca is absolutely an initiatory rite for a lot of people. Not everyone. It's very gentle and very kind for a lot of people, but it's also very brutal. And for whoever is in that warrior caste, it needs to be understood that it's initiation. The biggest problem that I have with ayahuasca is that people are saying surrender to Aya. That's a big fucking problem. As if this is not, like, you know, the way that I see deities and you see deities. This would probably clear up things for a lot of people. They're not greater or less than me, right? They are with me. They are beside me. And they are in the same value system. They are part of the creator just as I am. And they are here as a way for our minds to fathom and understand reality. So within Aya, right, I don't know that I'd go as far to say it's a deity, but let's just say an otherworldly being, right? A lot of people, you know, there's ayahuasca that you hear about, and most people look at it as a drug. I do not, because I have come into contact with that being, and it's a wild ride every time, no matter what. It's a very interesting, intense ride. And I do not agree with the culture that is saying surrender to Aya. I do think you should surrender, but to the creation of your own soul, to the creator of the universe, to the creator of everything that you know to be.
Yeah.
And I think that it can be an initiation and a doorway, and it should also be understood that you're probably not going to have a great time. It should be understood that this is a journey into, like, if you got some poison on you, if you got some stuff stuck in the mind, if you have some mental capacities that are absolutely not working out in your favor,
You're going to go all in on that.
yeah, you're going to go into the darkness.
Yeah.
And it's going to be ugly and it's not going to be fun. But that journey is going to lead you into the appropriate place.
Yeah.
And that journey is going to allow you to open yourself up and possibly find some gold to bring back. I think that Aya can be used as a useful tool, just as mushrooms, just as LSD, just as anything else in the expansion of consciousness. It's definitely not a party drug. It's definitely not something that you should just fuck around with. But generally speaking, I think Aya is a useful tool. I think the pop culture that's happening around it is getting really popular.
Yeah, and it was like those guys that were there the first time we went, and they were like, dude, I've just done it like 100 times, just blast off with my space sword thing. And I'm like, okay, y'all are here just for like the fucking party aspect. To me, that, like, from what it sounded like, y'all just want to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like learn some shit. Like when I do psychedelics, like when I do mushrooms, I'm there for the lesson.
Yeah.
You know, like I had that part where I talked about my mushroom trip last year where I turned into a werewolf. Dude, that was just a metaphor for freedom.
Yeah.
Like I felt free.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I understood in that moment was like, I'm like a werewolf, just running fucking wild and free. And that was the beauty in it. It wasn't that I was turned into a werewolf, but that was just an expression of how I truly felt. And it was an amazing thing. You know, ayahuasca, I mean,
yeah. And
that was a tough time.
You know, touching on the werewolf thing, because I think I talked about, you know, that third night I turned into a werewolf too. And something that I came into contact with that understanding, like, I think we've had many different trips where we associate the werewolfism, right?
Yeah.
And I'd agree. Like, it was a freedom. It was a freedom in, like, I was just sitting outside listening and using my senses, but not in a way that I was thinking. The mind was totally shut off.
Yeah.
And I was sitting and observing, and I was trusting my intuition. I was trusting my observations of things. I was completely in trust of my own self, my own body, my own spirit. And that is, so yeah, it's a pretty grand metaphor for freedom, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cool feeling. You're just like shedding skin, and just becoming the wild beast.
Yep.
I love it. But now, you know, I don't know, I might go do ayahuasca again. Depends. I mean, if like Lydia wanted to go do it, I'd go do it with her, but I'm not like really, you know, I'm good. if I never do it again. Mushroom trips are going to be my thing, yearly thing that I do. And, you know, for like ritual and stuff. Dude, weed, man, I just can't smoke weed no more.
Yeah.
I haven't smoked in like 2 months.
Dude.
The thing is, it's too strong nowadays. Like, I remember back when I was like 18 years old.
Devoid of CBD, a lot of times, like, there's a big problem with that.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, I remember going to bag, and you had to get the stems and the seeds out of there. It was like a little, but it was a task, right? You got to do all this work. And then you could do a whole bunch of it. And like the worst case, I'd just be like pretty hungry and just feel good. Now I hit like a puff or two and I'm like, dude, like everybody hates me. You know, I immediately just spiral, like in my mind just goes, so I don't know, man, let's bring the old stuff back.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm all about like fucking OG shit. And I think that it's a sacred plant medicine in its own right for a different reason. And like, if I get some pretty decent stuff, like I can be in good, and when I say decent, I don't mean strong. I mean, just like balanced. If I get some decent stuff, I can really, really go deep with myself in meditation. I can really open up some new pathways. I can see things from like a higher bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Within my own mind. And even, you know, again, going back to what I originally touched on, I feel like when I go into those zones of anxiety, that's like, okay, well, I guess this is time to work.
Yeah.
And it's like I sit with that anxiety and I allow it to happen because, I mean, you know, like just the other few nights, like I decided to try and it was just like thinking about this eclipse and like the, you know, just like Fenrir kept coming up and just like the rockets that they're shooting off. And I was like, dude, they're just going to like, what if the sun's closer and they're just like shooting rockets up there and it's just going to blow up the sun? And then what if like the sun is actually our transposition of spirit and we have no more spirit and we're just in this like crazy lunar world. And then like we don't have any way home except ourselves. And then we have to turn into the light and we become these like luminous beings that guide everyone away from the lunar. And so
yeah,
messed up.
See, that's the see, I don't even go there. I'm just like, I think about one thing I did or do and I'm just like, I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah. I think ayahuasca helped with a lot of that.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like weed, man. I just like the normal stuff, man. And you can't even find that. Like that's the rarity.
Yeah.
I went to California and I was like, hey, can I just want like a pre-roll thing? Yeah. And I needed guidance. I don't know all the things. And the guy's like, do you want this one? It's rolled in like a special resin glue, fucking gold leaf. And I'm like, no, dude, what's the most basic fucking joint you got? Let me get that one. Like, I'm good. And I was fine. And I just like ate a bunch of like sweets.
They're like, what the fuck? You want that Reggie?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They're like, we don't sell that. Yeah, no, you can't even get that anymore. But yeah, man, I don't know. Psychedelics, mushrooms, weed, all that stuff. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and I get a lot of people that ask me, they're like, oh, you know, I want to try this out. And I'm like, yeah, you know, well, you know, just be prepared. Ayahuasca, you gotta put in the work to go do it.
Yeah.
You know, so you're like, that's a journey in itself, like it was for us. But I think, you know, if you do some like psychedelic, like mushrooms, just understand that like you may go a place you don't want to go. Don't be looking at it as like, well, I want to experience this. Like it's just going to take you to where you need to go, and just understand that and learn from it. Don't let it freaking scare you.
Yeah.
Just be like, man, I got to face these things, and that's okay.
Right.
And that's the beauty in it, and that's why it's such a powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I suggest, you know, most people give it a shot at least once just to really go inward.
Yeah.
Because I think it could do a lot of good for a lot of people. And, that, you know, I think everybody needs that ego shattered a little bit to really come down to earth and be a little bit more understanding and compassionate of other people.
I definitely needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And you can do that with mushrooms, I think. I mean, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's a really phenomenal way to look at things is that just, you know, the idea of all this stuff is to become more compassionate.
Yeah.
And have a little bit more space to hold it from everyone because, like, boy, if you think you're fucking right and you think you're so fucking perfect, it's gonna fucking hit you in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And it needs to, you know, and it's like, it's not like a judgment or anything. There's plenty of people that are still there that still need that. And it's going to one way or the other. I'm also totally an advocate of medicine isn't the way for everybody. And it's not necessarily like the right or wrong way.
No,
it's, you know, I definitely wouldn't push Aya on anybody or mushrooms or anything. And, you know, I used to kind of think probably a little bit differently, but generally speaking, like I have changed my mind on a lot of sacred medicine. Granted, it got me where I am today, but I am, I would say, for the most part, a very sober being. I partake very, very lightly. I partake like I don't have to get high anymore. I don't have to do like my sensitivity is ridiculous, especially like after the first time of Aya, very ridiculous. After the last 3, holy shit, dude, like 0.5 mushrooms used to be a microdose. Nope, not fucking at all. It's more like 3 grams. It's nuts.
That's wild.
It is wild. Like it's cheap, but but at the same time, I don't even want to go to that place because it's like I can get so untethered so quickly now.
Yeah.
From and go into hyperspace, and I'm not afraid of it. It just has to be at the right time and the right, because like those spaces, you have to learn how to hold a higher state of consciousness.
Yeah.
You can't operate in those spaces from lower states of consciousness, or you're gonna have a bad trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something, I mean, not many people are ready for that. And I learned in a very different way. Many monks are very well versed and very well trained on the spirit world, regardless of what people think. And I would say even old school priests, old school shamans especially, but a lot of these things are happening for people in different regards to learn how to handle states of consciousness. And when you transpose the mind, what that means is that when you start taking psychedelics, you are, what is that? Synesthesia. Synesthesia is where your brain actually starts mapping out sensory organs from each other, meaning like you hear colors and you see sounds and stuff like that, right? It's a real thing that people have found in science too, but that is really what's going on a lot of times. There is so much information that is just on frequency band. All of this is frequency. All of this is energy. And your inability to understand that is just a limited belief of the mind. And when you truly understand physics, and when you really, and that's a big passion of mine, getting into chemistry, physics, and biology, when you understand like these core concepts, right? Biology adapts, chemistry reacts, physics governs. And when you understand things from a physics perspective, you understand that your limited senses, a lot of what these sacred medicines are doing is expanding those limited senses by combining them and allowing your eyes to peer into the world of your ears, and your ears to peer into the world of your taste and stuff like that. It's very odd of what happens to the brain. But every single one of those, ayahuasca, mushrooms, LSD, all of them have been proven by science to actually start growing the dendrites in the nerve cell, to actually kick up stem cell production, to kick up neural cell activity across the board. I still to this day think that's what healed my back. When I destroyed my vertebrae and destroyed my discs, I was extremely crippled. I started my job hobbling around the room and hobbling around school, and every day I couldn't even sit in a desk. I had to like be bent over with my fist in my stomach just to go to school. And doing a lot of what I was doing with LSD and mushrooms at the time, I truly believe that's probably the only reason my back healed.
Interesting. Well, there you go. There's some science for the day.
Yeah.
Really connecting things. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
man.
I don't talk about science a whole lot more, but I still have it all. And that's really where I try to bridge a gap for some people's minds to really understand what they can understand, is because like this stuff is like science and spirituality is just trying to point to the same thing. I think people have an inability to reconcile with that in their own mind, their own ego, that what are we doing science for? To figure out how the fuck we're here. And albeit we're not going to figure out how we're here, I would say that like I still love it because I still love to understand the mechanics that we have at play and how we can use them better.
But at the end of the day, that's limited.
Right.
There's stuff far beyond science.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So I do want to finish, we got to finish up here. I want to know, what direction are you taking your business? Because a lot of people that listen to this do know you and they know what you do. Mm-hmm. You recently kind of re-geared things. So what direction are you headed with that?
Well, when I there's a lot of directions that I'm going, and I didn't really want to go some of these directions, but I think it's the easiest, and I think it's actually a little bit of a changing belief mindset that I had. I am planning on hiring more people. I am planning on taking more people underneath my wing and really only facilitating the higher end specialty work. So the things I can do now with my hands, dude, are insane. Like the stuff that, I just got back from California with Jimmy Bluff, and that dude is, I can't say enough good things about him. Phenomenal, funny. He's got a lot of science. He's got a lot of intelligence about the fascial system, the body, just in general of something that I haven't heard of, which is very rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare for me because I dissect everything so harshly. It's very rare for me to show up somewhere and get some info dumps, and the whole time I'm like,
I didn't know this.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Just generally, like, this is good shit. Like, this is real. Like, and that's, I have two things that I really take pride in, and people often see them as arrogance, but haven't been wrong yet. So whatever.
Hell yeah.
I feel like when I'm sourcing out information and I hear information, I can immediately call bullshit on it. And I don't mean bullshit in the way of like, that's not true. I mean, like, that's not going to help me.
Yeah.
And so when I start reading a book and I'm skimming through it, I'm like looking at something, I'm like, this doesn't have the shit I want. And they're like, well, how do you know? I just know. I'm sorry. Like, I don't have a way that's like Sixth Sense, whatever. I don't like to mess around with information sourcing because I seem to be able to have a credibility sniffer about me. And the credibility sniffer for me there is just like the stuff he was dropping was constant gold. It was some things that I never heard of before. It was some things that I think a lot of people are just like, even in that room, there were some other people that were like listening, and I could tell they were taking it in and being skeptical. And I was just like, dude, this is the shit. And I think my skepticism highly depends upon my own intuition for things, because I do have skepticism, but I have open skepticism. I'm willing to try anything, but there are definitely some things that I have found in this world where I've heard them, and initially I'm like, that's it, go that direction, hell yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And so the direction I'm going is I am building up the Muscle Medic a little bit more as an empire. I'm looking to take on more therapists, which actually Luke told me yesterday that he's about to go to massage school. So yeah, dude. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
We're just gonna make this whole building like Muscle Medic, and then we're gonna have the podcast studio.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be real cool. But ideally, the idea is to have a couple of therapists and be the best in the Midwest Eastern region here, because I am constantly searching for information. I'm constantly trying to source out things and understand the body better. And I haven't been able to come across the appropriate information in a long time. And I got really excited when I went out there because Jimmy actually dropped good information.
Nice.
And then not only that, but immediately working with those other therapists out there, tangible evidence that I could see immediately right there. This shoulder, me and Aaron been working on it for a while. My left shoulder has been bummed, dude. It's been so bad. And he fixed it in 30 fucking minutes. I mean, just like absolute pro work, crazy. And the stuff he did, I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. Fuck. And so I took a lot of it back. I'm pretty blessed just because like I was really honed in and I caught on very fast and I understood it very fast.
Yeah.
Since I've been back, I've been at work a week and use the technique solely. My hands are blistered, and these techniques jack my heart rate up to 130 sometimes in the session, which is crazy.
Nice.
Just because it's constant motion. So there's more cardio, I guess.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the technique does so much more. I would say 3 to 4 times as much as I was doing before.
Nice.
Which is mind blowing. And where it would have took an hour for me to do half a body, it might take me an hour to do a stomach now.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's crazy.
I know I got to get in with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like right there.
Yeah, you're going to be mind blown.
All right, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And I'm glad you were able to go there. And I knew you seemed pretty excited about it. And I props to you for taking the, investing in that opportunity.
That wasn't cheap.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, it's
worth it.
The best opportunities are going to cost you in some way or another, right? So, but then you look at it and you're like, oh shit, I learned something from that. And even if it doesn't benefit you, everything benefits you because it's all a lesson, right?
I mean, it really benefited me because, like, not only that, but just everything that we're talking about now, this entire podcast that we just talked about, man, that's the craziest part because, like, the stuff that Jimmy's been through, that was the most solace I'd found. Cause like what I said about me getting launched out, me being like, yeah, I want to get there. I want to understand the universe. Oh shit. I understand the universe more than anybody else. And not in an egotistical way of like, just, I feel fucking alone. Please, someone else be here. Yeah. He's like the first person that I've ever met that I'm like, that we just locked eyes. And we were just like, yeah, dude, you went to the same fucking place. And that was nuts.
Dude, I just went there the other day.
But, you know, he's just very, very compassionate dude because of how much hell he's seen. Yeah. And he's very real about the world too. Good basis of spirituality and science, and a good understanding for the operational systems of things. And it was cool to not only find like a mentor, but a friend too. And, you know, definitely hope to have a long lasting relationship there going forward. Cause it seems like he wants to, you know, kind of do some work between his brand and my brand, which is cool.
Nice, dude. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really exciting. I'm stoked for you, man. I'm always supporting you, you know, no matter what, man, because it's your journey and I'm here for it and I'm here for you. So, dude, I'm stoked to see where you take everything. You know, next time we're on here, we'll see things evolve even more. We'll have more sketchy things to talk about. Anybody wants to throw some suggestions out there, we'll talk about it. I don't think there's anything off the table really, discussion wise. So yeah, dude.
We'll bullshit till the end of the day.
Oh yeah. Anything else you got?
Fuck Kid Rock.
Okay, that's some part 2 of this, whatever this series is. All right, thanks, brother.
See you.
Love you, dude. Take care.
I had to throw it.